concerns? If not, motion? Mr. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the June 12th, 2023 ZBA meeting minutes as presented.
I'll support. Motion by Mr. Flood, support by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We have 4 cases in front of us tonight, the agenda review and approval. Does any of the board members have any concern or question? Mr. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda review and approval as submitted.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Flood, supported by Mrs. Danaskis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. First case is AB 2023-06, Violetta Bilan at 2209 Indianwood Road, Sidwell 09-04-300-002. I'm going to depart a little bit from the normal direction that we had. Yeah, come on up if you would. Introduce yourself, please.
Violetta Bilan.
Am I correct that you have come to a understanding with the Planning and Zoning Office?
Yes.
Am I also correct that it is different than what is shown on the agenda tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read the initial request in because it is on the agenda. Then I'm going to back that up with reading what I believe to be what you're looking for tonight.
Yes.
If you hear me say anything that is not what you agreed to, that is not what you want to do, you stop me. It is your request, not mine.
Okay.
I'm just hoping if we jump a little bit ahead here, we can get some ground ahead of where we have started in the past.
Yes.
So the first thing on the agenda we have, the applicant is seeking 2 variances in zoning ordinance 78, zoned SF. It was postponed from the January, February, March, April meeting, 10th, and the May 22nd meetings. Article 27, section 27.02A8. Number 1 is a 2,185.16 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of detached accessory buildings of 1,000 square feet for existing sheds totaling 916.91 square feet, an existing 448 square foot gazebo, an existing 1,057 square foot barn, an existing 763.25 foot carport. Number 2 is a 1,685.16 square foot variance above the allowed total maximum floor area of all accessory buildings of 1,500 square feet for existing sheds totaling 916.91 square feet, an existing 448 square foot gazebo, an existing 1,057 square foot barn, and an existing 763.25 square foot carport. That is what is in the agenda. Now, I will read what I believe is what you have come to ask tonight.
Yes.
And again, interrupt me if you hear anything that you don't recognize.
Okay.
The applicant is requesting a 1,352.04 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of 714.04 square feet to build a new 650 square foot storage shed and a new 988 square foot garage for a total of 2,352.04 square feet of attached accessory buildings. Number 2 is an 852.04 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of all accessory buildings of 1,500 square feet for existing accessory buildings of 714.04 square feet, and to build a 600 square foot storage shed, 650 square foot storage shed, and a new 988 square foot garage for a total of 2,352.04 square feet of all accessory buildings. Per plans date stamped June 1st, 2023. Ma'am, does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Okay. These variances have come down quite a bit, but there's also not mention of several buildings that have been in previous ones. So if you would start, please, by letting the board know what it is you have physically removed off the property as far as buildings.
So we removed barn and a barn loft, which is total of 1,057 square feet. we removed the garage that was initially on the property. It collapsed in 1991, which was 750 square feet. We removed gazebo, a three-car shed. I don't remember how many square feet that was. There was about 720 square feet. We removed shed A, B, and C. So basically, we removed all of it except gazebo and a log cabin.
That tallies with what I remember seeing when I was at your place the last time. It looks much better, in my opinion at least, than it had been looking, and there are a lot of things not there now that were there then.
Right.
Board members.
Mr. Chairman, to help the applicant out, they removed a total of 2,471.12 square feet of accessory buildings that were not permitted in the past. And I had to take the barn out of there because who knows when that barn was built. But, and they're keeping the gazebo and the log cabin, which is 714.04 square feet. And I like the applicant, she decreased this by 40% on the maximum floor area of detached accessory buildings, 833.12 square feet, and also decreased the total maximum floor area of all accessory buildings by 833.12 square feet, which comes to 50% reduction. I find that very well with the applicant trying to work with the zoning board of appeals.
Definitely positive.
Mhm.
While the board thinks it over, does anybody come to speak specifically to this project tonight in the public? Seeing none, thank you. Now, the buildings, I believe, are all down.
Yes, 5 structures, we took it down.
Now, there's a huge dumpster there. Is it still there?
Yes, it should, yes, we still have a little bit of things to pick up, but I think they were supposed to pick it up when? They picked it up, the dumpster today? Oh, I guess they picked it up today. I didn't even notice.
Okay, it's been a week or so since I was out there. I just
Okay.
noticed it was there.
So it's gone.
Well, good. You're taking positive steps.
Yes, we're trying to work with you.
Members of the board have anything for the applicant?
If she would repeat what her practical difficulty originally was.
Please.
It's been so long.
So, I guess there are different ways I can look at it, but, how am I supposed to talk about a practical, because right now we are down to 700 square feet. So, well, our house is situated between a septic tank. So right now, we are asking, we're gonna have to build a storage building and a garage. And they're gonna have to be detached. Basically, we're gonna put it in the same place that the old barn was and the old garage was. So now the question comes, what are the difficulties? So the one difficulties is, I know somebody might ask us, why are you not attaching to the building? And the reason for it is that our house is situated between a septic tank on the west side and the water well on the east side, so we cannot attach to the building on that side. On the north side, we are very close to the building, so we will not we are very close to the road, Indianwood Road, so we will not be able to put a garage there. And then on the south end, it's a walkout basement, so the floor is less than 8 feet high, so we will never be able to build a full high ceiling, 8-foot ceiling garage.
A good question would be, I think, maybe where Mr. Flood is headed. What is it about your situation that requires all this storage space? I live on not quite as much ground as you, but almost. I've got an attached two-car garage and a shed, and I am maxed out. I can't put, anything else I put up is gonna get the attention of the township. So I'm stuck. And I do okay. Sometimes I wish I had a little more, but I do all right. So what is it about your situation that makes you require the storage volume that you're asking for?
So number one, when we first purchased the house, we're not asking for anything more. Let me see. So so these structures are necessity for our use of property, but are also consistent with the square footage of accessory structures that existed when we purchased the property. We are not seeking additional square footage beyond what was initially present in 1999 when we first purchased. We basically want to restore the functionality of our property that we initially had, while respecting the physical constraints and unique circumstances. The request for variance is not an attempt to extend beyond the property's original capacity. I know the three-car garage, we have Hummers, H2 Hummer and H2 and H3 and a minivan. So we like to be able to store from elements. And because it's a suburban farm, we are used to have a lot of equipment, smaller size, but we do gardening, a lot of gardening. We do a lot of, my husband likes to tinker with his hands. So instead of using the house for, extending the house, which we like to have the shed where we can, have those items. I guess we feel that we're not asking for anything extra than what it was when we first purchased. Let me see, basically asking to preserve the same enjoy and the same use that we had for the past, 2 decades, 25 years. We took out 5 structures, so we're gonna go, there were 4 structures, 1, 2, 3, 4 structure when we moved, and it's gonna be 4 structure right now after, if you get approved for a shed and a garage. So the number of structures is gonna be equal.
Thank you.
And the square footage is gonna be equal, a little bit less. Tiny little bit.
Thank you. Board members. Ms. Van Tassel.
How is it? After the last time they were here was also when I left at the end of their case because the regular ZBA member was here. And I had the opportunity to talk with them outside and know that the man of the household repairs bicycles. And he has a truck and a trailer that he can go from place to place and take care of those things. And in talking with me, they indicated that the storage space, the extra storage space or garage would be used to keep that vehicle and that trailer inside so it's not exposed to the elements when we've got bad weather. I don't know if that came across in her presentation. I didn't hear it, but I just add that as a matter of fact, and maybe you folks would like to address it.
I think, so there was a lady that spoke on our behalf, and she misspoke. We have 2 stores in Orion Township, one at the Canterbury Village, which is like 1,000 square feet. Then we have another 1,000 square feet for storage. We have 2 other storages, 500 square feet for bicycles, and we just recently inquired additional space on Lapeer Road. So there's no intent to do any repairs, any work in the house. The house is barely 1,000 square feet. And the storage for the bicycles, occasionally if it's late in the day, he'll bring we drive the car, he bring the trailer will be parked on our property regardless. We don't plan on, it was there. But there will be no like repair, there will be no, we're not gonna use it additional storage for our business. We have 2 locations, we have over 1,500 for storage, and we have over 2,000 space. We don't need extra space. We little bit about, we're like almost 4,000 square feet outside the house that we're paying. So I don't know if there's concern we're gonna run a business, but this is gonna be all absolutely only for house purposes. We have 3 big cars, Hummers. I did the research on the internet. I tried to figure out, okay, what's the size, right? What the size? So they provide the range, and I went somewhere in the middle. And then the shed, again, he has, what do you have? Small tractor, small backhoe, right? And again, we are not asking for more than what it was there.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker?
Ms. Bill, when you bought the property, was all the things that you tore down, were they there when you bought the property?
Yes, the garage, the barn, and 2 structures.
Those are the things you've removed?
Yes, and all those add up to what I'm asking right now.
Okay, yep. Thank you.
The problem that we got with the township is because, in addition to those structures, we went and we put up some more structure, which put us really over the limit. So we now complied with what we had at first, when we first purchased.
Mr. Naskis, you look like a question ready to be asked.
No,
No? Okay.
no.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker?
unless we all want to stay here all day, I guess we've got to do something, I would think.
Yes, I would say so.
And let me, as a preamble, this is one of the most difficult, I've been doing this a long time, but this is one of the most difficult for different reasons, case I've ever had to think about. And there are lots of pros, there are lots of cons, but I believe I'm prepared to make a motion to see what the rest of the board thinks.
Please.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker?
in the matter of ZBA case AB 202306, Violetta Bilan, 2209 Indian Wood Road, 09043000002, I move that the applicant's amended request, based upon the plan's date stamped June 1st, 2023, 2 variances from zoning ordinance number 78, zones SF, Article 27, Section 2702A81, a reduced request of 1,352.04 square foot variance from the allowed maximum floor area of detached accessory buildings of 1,000 square feet for existing detached accessory building of 714.04 square feet, and to build a new 600 square foot storage shed and a new 988 square foot garage for a total of 2,352.04 square feet of detached accessory buildings, and 2, a 852.04 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of all accessory buildings of 1,500 square feet for existing accessory buildings of 714.04 square feet, and to build a new 650 square foot storage shed and a new 988 square foot garage for a total of 2,352.04 square feet of all accessory buildings, be granted because the applicant did demonstrate the following standards for variance have been met in this case, and they set forth that the unique characteristics of this property, even though it's a relatively large piece of property, as I recall from my visit to the property, it's very irregularly shaped, backed up to a kind of a subdivision or a series of condominiums in the back. And in addition to that, the topography of the land is that it's not flat. There's hills, there's valleys, and things of that nature, and that are not related to the general conditions of the area of the property. The other properties in this area do not have these unique characteristics. And these are exceptional and extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to this property that do not involve properties in the same district. The applicant has made a good faith effort to reduce her requests. And also, the applicant indicated there's a septic field involved, so there are certain areas that they cannot use. Let's see here. And that the granting of this variance and modification will not be material detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or property where the property is located. In addition to that, there were a number of neighbors at the two previous meetings were in support of that, and as I recall, there was no one from the neighborhood who had any objections to this. And further, that these variances would not impair an adequate supply of light or air to adjacent property, unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets, increase the danger of fire or danger to public safety, or in any other respect impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Or, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead and support. I've got two, possibly, if you want to. First correction is that in the first, you said 600 square foot storage shed and it's 650. I believe I heard that. I know you said 650 in the second one.
And I believe me, I could have said that.
I make those same things.
Okay.
And also, would you and the supporter consider a condition on the variance? They've already removed or removing these other 5 structures on the property, that they remain removed,
Certainly.
which totaled 2,471.12 square feet.
I would amend my motion.
Accept that as well.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Walker and an amended motion and an amended support from Mrs. Danaskis. Anything further from the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Diane Danaskis, yes. Joanne Van Tassel,
Yes,
Don Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you.
You're good to go. I appreciate you staying with it and remaining calm and working with us. And I would urge you, make sure your permits are all in place before you build any more buildings.
Right. Can I
Please.
ask a quick question? So how long is the variance valid? How much time do you have? I can't imagine I'm gonna be putting right away. I need a little bit of time. How long is this? Is
You
it-
can't do it tonight?
Variance is
Wyatt.
good for 1 year.
From tonight.
And then you can ask for an extension with planning and zoning.
So I would have to come here if I don't. if I
Not
don't-
here, you can, we can actually administratively approve that.
Okay, so just have to remember that.
No, they can't.
But please, for everybody's sake, don't wait until this day next year. If you're going to need an extension, ask for it earlier.
Can't do it
I will.
administratively. They have to come before the ZBA.
And again, please, the board has gone a long way to work with you here, and they were happy to do so. But please make sure that you continue to work with us. As I say, if you're going to put up anything else, make sure that you've got your permits. If you have any questions, Mr. Goodlow's office can answer them for you.
Yes.
And with any luck, this board and you won't be seeing one another anymore.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good
Have a good evening, ma'am.
Night.
Okay, next case. AB 2023-14, Scott Carrer at 2716 Mercury Court, Sidwell 09-20-477-008. Applicant is seeking to extend the expiration date of the approved variance for ZBA case number AB 2022-03. That was granted, I believe, February of last year. The variance was from Article 6, Section 6.04, Zoned R2. Number one, a 7.42 front yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to add a second-story addition 27.58 feet from the front property line. Introduce yourselves, please, and just give us a brief rundown on what you want to do.
My name's Scott Kerr, and this is my wife, Kristen Kerr. And our plan is to put an addition above the garage in the house that goes to the rear of the property. We found that the zoning must have changed because the original footprint of the house is the original footprint, and it must have been maybe a 25-foot setback when it was originally designed. We are going to be using the existing footprint with no changes, and we were approved last year, but then I got some sticker shock with how much they wanted to charge, and then the people that we actually could get a quote from, I didn't feel like I wanted them to do the work. So we've actually found somebody, and I still have sticker shock, but we're gonna go ahead anyways, if you guys approve, of course. Within everything else, with height and everything else, our neighbors seem fine with the addition, and
Last year, we could only find 2 construction companies to even give us a quote. One never stepped foot on the property before sending us the total, and only the total. The other one absolutely couldn't even find someone to give a siding quote, so said we were on our own for the siding, the windows, the doors, and a couple other things. And we said, we can't move ahead with you without you being able to finish the job. So unfortunately, then winter set in. We waited until this year and decided to start looking again, found a construction company that we can work with and hopefully get moving so that our 4 children can finally have the alone bedrooms that they've been dreaming of for years.
Thank you. Board members.
The only thing I would point out, they're on a cul-de-sac, and as a result, the setback is from the circular area of the cul-de-sac instead of from Mercury Drive, so they set far back off the regular road.
our
and,
neighbors also have the same setback as us on the court, like you said.
Mr. Chairman, one thing we can't consider is monetary, but what I heard you say was you're having trouble getting a contractor.
That was true too, yes.
So that makes practical difficulty for me, is to find a
to me,
right,
that's a practical difficulty.
yes, right contractor.
Right.
Also, you have a letter in the packet from a neighbor, I believe it's a neighbor, Stephen Farrell.
He's our next door neighbor.
Okay, he didn't put his address on here, but,
He's the one on the side that we're doing the addition on.
okay, he said, I do not have any issues with this proposal, as I did not have an issue with the first application, so. Now, I noticed that you are a little bit beyond the year time.
Yep.
I don't find any problem with that. You do understand if this gets approved tonight, that the clock starts ticking back to February.
We're
So
meeting,
now you only got 8 months to get a,
we've got a scheduled meeting with the contractor tomorrow, and I hope to not cancel that.
but I understand, Mr. Goodloe, that as long as they pull the permit, then
Well,
that starts from that date for a year, is that correct?
Yeah, permits are good for 365 days. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would exceed the February, but they come in
Yeah.
within the next 8 months. Yeah. Understand what I just said?
So the variance is being extended from February 14th to February 14th rather than from today for a year.
You're right, but if you pull a permit, that's when the clock ticks on that one to get your building done.
But once everything's done on the exterior and the building's up, we're okay. They can keep painting long after the variance expires, right? So
So if you apply for your permit, your contractor comes in and applies for your permit, The variance, you won't have to worry about it because the permit takes over the precedence there now.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's what I was trying to say.
365.
And if he doesn't
Okay,
finish in a
thank you.
year, then we have to get the
Right, then
permit
the building
extended.
permit, but if he takes more than a year, I'll be talking to him more than you need.
Your children won't be happy.
No, they're picking out paint colors already.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Flood.
In the matter of ZBA case AB 2023-14, Scott
Here,
Kara, 2716 Mercury Court, Sidwell number 09-20-477-008. I move that the petitioner's request to extend the expiration date for the approved variance for ZBA case AB 2022-03. One variance from zoning ordinance 78, zone R2, Article 6, Section 6.04, a 7.42 front yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to add a second-story addition 27.58 feet from the front property line be granted for 1 year from the expiration date of 2/14/23 for plans date stamped received 12/23/21. Because petitioner did demonstrate the following standards for variance have been met in this case, and they set forth facts that show their practical difficulty was getting a qualified contractor to meet their needs. The following are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district. They're sitting on a cul-de-sac, and because of that extra width on that cul-de-sac, they can't meet the front yard setback like the other people in the subdivision can. The variance is necessary for preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone or district. Granting of the variance or modification will not be material detrimental to the public welfare or material injurious to the property or to improvements in such zone or district which the property is located. In fact, it will increase their property values by adding an addition on that house. And they have 4 children, and they're trying to get them out of so they all have a bedroom. Further, based on the following findings of fact, the granting of this variance would not impair an adequate supply of light or air adjacent to the property, unreasonably increase congestion in public streets, increase the danger of fire, or endanger public safety. Our fire marshal has no concerns with this variance. Unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding areas. But in other respect, impair the public health, safety, comforts, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the Orion Township. I might add, too, that this grant will expire on February 14th of 2024, if this is approved.
Support.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Flood and a support by Mrs. Danaskis. Before I call for a vote, I neglected to, excuse me?
I thought I did.
Oh, I said Danaskis, didn't I?
Yes, you-
I'm
you
sorry.
did, you did.
And
See?
support,
That's what happens when you're trying to just go straight over your head.
and support by Mrs. Van Tassel. Make that correction, please. I neglected to ask for public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience who came specifically to speak to this case? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Joanne Van Tassel.
Yes.
Diane Danaskus, yes. Mike Flood.
Yes.
Don Walker.
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes,
Motion passed.
one hurdle jumped, you're on your way.
Good luck.
Good luck, folks. Next case, we have AB 2023-15, Kenneth Parker at 308 North Baldwin, Sidwell, 09-06-100-013. Applicant is seeking 2 variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned SF, Article 27, Section 27.02A8. Number 1 is a 760 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of detached accessory buildings of 1,400 square feet to build a 2,160 square foot pole barn. Number 2 is a 1,266 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of all accessory buildings of 1,900 square feet to build a 2,160 square foot pole barn in addition to a 1,006 square foot attached garage. If you would introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Ken Parker.
And let us know what you'd want to do and what you believe your practical difficulty would be, the need for what you want to do.
So the parcel is a little over 10-acre parcel. It is zoned suburban farms. And I guess the request is to build a larger accessory building so that we are able to store agricultural equipment, tractor, implements such as the bucket and tiller for the back, as well as snow blower equipment for the front, and also maintenance equipment and also recreational equipment. So we have a motor home that sits there, and we have a pontoon boat and also some trailers as well that we'd like to store all inside if possible.
Thank you. Board members.
There's a numerous letters in this too, this packet, if anybody saw them.
I did contact all
neighbors.
the neighbors and talk to them.
Yeah, they're in here.
Letter, yeah.
But they were all in support.
Yeah, but usually we read that in the record.
We can do that.
Dan, you got it? You want me to take care of it?
I've got it in my hand for that matter.
You have them all?
You got it, Dan? Go ahead.
They're in my packet, so.
Dan's got it.
As part of the presentation, there are several, as Mr. Flood stated, several neighbors that are weighing in. It is in the form of a form letter that, without reading the letter in, it is basically what they're like to do, and they're inviting the neighbors in to look and asking them to sign if they're okay with it. And we have what I believe to be Haley Johns at 784 Baldwin Court, Jack and Pamela Hutchinson at 240 North Baldwin, Robert Bernard at 276 Baldwin Court, Robert Kirk at 280 Baldwin Court, Scott Belker at 256 Baldwin Court, David and Katrina Schwartz at 292 Baldwin Court, Tom Denton at 322 North Baldwin, and William A. Johnson at 268 Baldwin Court, Jonathan Bernard, I thought I called him out already, at 272 Baldwin Court, and Timothy, can't read it, at 264 Baldwin Court. They've all signed the letter, and they've stated essentially that they have no issue with what the applicant is asking.
And for the record, all of those properties abut the applicant's property.
Thank you.
I recognize a lot of those names on there. I went to school with a lot of those last name people. Like, back when Baldwin Road was still Baldwin Road there.
That's
Where they
right.
straightened the curves out. You know, you've fallen into this, we have a set, like, I think what suburban farms is as far as we go for square footage. And this is what happens when we get these big 10, 15, 20 acre lots. It's just the way the system works. But I'm glad to see your neighbors are all full support of it.
I'm prepared, oh, go ahead. Did you want to make them all?
Question. You said in your initial presentation that you needed this whole building to store agricultural equipment. What kind of agricultural equipment, and what are you going to be growing out there?
So it would be a tractor, it's, I don't know, 30 horsepower diesel tractor with, it's got a front bucket, forks on it, and then also implements for the back for making a garden. And obviously, we haven't started anything like that, but it would be a small garden. It's not going to be, you know, we're not going to clear the rest of the woods for a garden, but we do have an area there that's cleared out. Yeah, it's basically it.
Do you intend on mowing all the grass area?
That's currently mowed, yes, unless it becomes a garden there, then it would be a garden, not a mowing ground.
Thank you.
In addition, Mr. Chairman, I also noticed in your packet that you're not impeding on any wetlands or any of that thing.
Yep, no setbacks are violated, no, nothing like that.
Yep. That was in your,
This has nothing to do with your request. Have you ever gardened in an area like that before?
An area like that before.
The only thing I'm asking or getting to is good luck keeping the deer out of it.
Oh, yeah, that would be,
That was the only thing.
And, yeah.
you're going to feed a lot of wildlife.
yeah, right.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Mr. Naskis.
In the matter of ZBA case AB-2023-15, Kenneth Parker, 308 North Baldwin, parcel number 0906100013, I move that the petitioner's request for 2 variances from zoning ordinance 78 zoned SF, Article 27, Section 27.02A8, Number one, a 760 square foot variance from the allowed maximum floor area of detached accessory buildings of 1,400 square feet to build a 2,160 square foot pole barn. And two, a 1,266 square foot variance above the allowed maximum floor area of all accessory buildings of 1,900 square feet to build a 2,160 square foot pole barn in addition to an existing 1,006 square foot attached garage be granted for plans date stamped received May 26, 2023, because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for variances have been met in the case that set forth facts which show that in this case, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulty. This is a 10-acre plus parcel, which requires a great deal of maintenance, and that maintenance requires a great deal of equipment. And the equipment, in order to keep it in good condition, working condition, needs to have ample storage. These pieces of equipment can't be left out and still be maintained in a proper way. The extraordinary circumstances and conditions applicable to the property that do not generally apply to other properties in the district are, once again, the size of the property. The property is considered urban farm, will be used for somewhat of that purpose with gardening. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone of the city based on, the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, and based upon the fact that all of the neighbors who abut this property are in approval of these changes. And further, it will not impair the adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property. It will not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets. It will not increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety, and it will not unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area, or in any other respect impair public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Mrs. Danaskis and support by Mr. Flood. Any further discussion by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Don Walker.
Yes.
Mike Flood.
Yes.
Diane Danaskas, yes. Joanne Van Tassel.
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, you're all set. Request passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, sir. Next case, 2023-16, Seat Salimi, I believe, at vacant parcel 09-10, Sidwell is 09-10-380-017. It is one parcel west of 900 Walnut Avenue, adjacent to Pine Avenue. Petitioner is seeking two variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R3, Article 6, Section 6.0. A 20-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a house with an attached garage 10 feet from the property line along Walnut Street, and a 20-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a shed 10 foot from the property line along Pine Avenue. We've seen you before. Introduce yourself again, if you would.
My name is Sayed Salimi. I'd like to build a house on the property. The property has is adjacent to two roads, Walnut and Pine. And then also, not only do I have the water at one part of the property, but the water line actually comes up the side of the property as well, which puts me in the position I have to be 50 feet from the water for my septic, and it kind of pushes my house, the plans up forward closer. And then for the shed on Pine Avenue, I have to be even though it's a private road, but it still has to be the 30-foot for the structure, and that's going to be for, just stuff for the lake to store things.
Hey, we got some communication from our office based on your case tonight. It stated that you are asking for 20 feet. It said the site plan survey shows the attached garage will be 19.4 feet from the property line along Walnut. He's asking for 20 feet, which is over what is needed. In my mind, there's not that much difference between 19.6 and 20. Some of the other board members may feel differently. That's kind of, in your estimation, would those extra little bit be nice to have in the bank?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to bring that up. Board members.
I had stated that previously, this is a postponement. My concern was the sight lines there around that corner with Pine Avenue, but I see the applicant has provided us with a survey, and he will not be encroaching into the road right-of-way. So he will be that far off the road right-of-way, which would take care of that line of sight. That was my main concern last time the applicant was here. I appreciate you supplying that material.
Sorry I didn't give that to begin with.
Well, the folks are thinking about it on another topic. That ground, I walked that ground the other day. It appears to be heavy. Is it wet back there? Are you gonna have any trouble building?
No. I mean, I know, I think it was Mr. Scott, was that the gentleman that was here last time, Mr. Scott or Mr. Curtis? I think it was Mr. Scott. He asked, I've never had water, in the 8 years I've never had water on the property, I've never had standing water, I've never had, I mean,
I'm just hoping if you go to all this trouble, you won't find a problem down the road somewhere. And again, it doesn't, it has no bearing on what we're talking about tonight.
yeah, I don't think, it should not be a problem.
It's fantastic.
Along that line, have you done any soil borings in the area where
Yes.
you intend to construct
Yes.
the building?
Yes, and they are good.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I had the Oakland County out there last year and the soils were good in that area where the house plan is going to be.
For your septic and
At
field.
what
Where the
depth did
septic
they
is going to go as
discover
well.
water?
I'm sorry?
At what depth did they discover water?
He dug at least 10 or 12 feet and didn't see anything.
You think you?
It was real sandy up at the hill part of the property. Originally, when I thought I would put the septic closer to the water, that was before I knew about the 50-foot from the side. And at that time, I would have had to build it up at least 4 to 6 feet if that was where I was gonna put it, and then I'd have to put a retaining wall. But now that it's gonna be closer on the hill, it's not gonna be a problem like if it was gonna be closer to the water.
Are there sanitary sewers available in the area?
I tried to wait that out. I tried to wait out the water and sewer in that area, but it looks like I'm not gonna get that.
Add something?
Yep.
Come on up, sir.
You know my name.
You gotta be on the microphone, sir.
Yeah, but I don't.
Come on up.
My name is Steve Warko.
This is being filmed? This is on record?
Yeah, my name is Steve Warko. I've lived in the area since 1997. So I've seen the improvements you made on that lot, which is fantastic, and I'm glad to see that. I'm also on the lake board, and I'm in charge of taking care of the lake to make sure that it's treated and we don't have anything running off in there causing more weeds. And it seems like you've taken care of that. You've probably seen emails from me, but we've never met each other. But I'm glad to see all the improvements that Mr. Salimi, am I saying that correct, have made on that. It's substantial. The amount of work you've done is just unbelievable. And I come here to support, the improvement that's going to be made, not only to your property, but to the neighborhood with you building the house. So I have a lot of considerations. I'm glad to hear a lot of things that you said, and I'm good to go. So I just wanted to add that.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time. You're welcome.
Anything further from the board?
There was a letter here from the Planning and Zoning Department with a condition on if this was to be approved. Trying to see where I saw it. Was it my computer or on here? That the 10-foot shed could not be built before the house was built. I believe I
Yeah,
saw
don't
that in
have-
my
I don't have
packet
a problem with
somewhere.
that. Yeah, that's,
And I had forgotten, but that was verbally expressed to me when I came in and picked up my information.
Yeah, oh, here it is. It's on here.
yeah, I don't know, it's not a,
It would be a condition if it's approved.
yeah, it's
The
not.
temptation is always there, because if you're doing stuff around, you have tools, and if you have tools, you don't want them to walk away, so throw a shed up and you can lock them in. But an accessory building before the main structure is a no-no.
Nope, that will not be a problem. You can, that can be in the, whatever's in the approval. I don't have a problem with that.
Good, thank you. Glad you brought that up, Mr. Flood. As I say, that had been expressed to me, but it had gone away. I'd forgotten it
Yeah,
completely.
I saw that in somewhere.
Just so we're aware, there is a 7x7 temporary shed, like a plastic resin shed, on the property. It's not cemented or it's on like risers, so just, I want to make sure.
Part of your
The print
variance
has
request
that
is
on
so you
there.
can build that 10-by-10 shed
No, I will not, that will not, nothing will be built.
along
before the
Pine
house.
Avenue.
Yes,
That's where you need some variance on that.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I was addressing, that one.
Yep.
Yeah, the one you got there now is,
Yep, that, there will not be nothing built before the house.
Mr. Goodlow, if you would, you're hearing the gentleman, he's got a temporary shed there now. He's not going to build, so you're fine with that?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Very good.
Okay.
Ms. Van Tassel.
In the matter of ZBA case AB 2023-16, Scott Salimi, a vacant parcel, Sidwell number 0910380017, located one parcel west of 900 Walnut Avenue, and it's adjacent to Pine Avenue. I move that the petitioner's request for two variances from zoning ordinance 78, property zoned R3, Article 6, Section 6.04, a 20-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a house with an attached garage 10 feet from the property line along Walnut Street. And two, a 20-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a shed 10 feet from the property line along Pine Avenue. Be granted for plans, date stamped May 30th, 2023, conditioned upon the shed not being constructed until the house has been built, and because the petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards for a variance have been met in this case, as they are set forth in facts which show them in this case. The petitioner does show that the following practical difficulty exists because the property is exceedingly narrow, and that in order to be able to build, he needs to be able to build on the highest ground available. And it is generally not related to general conditions in the area of the property. The following are exceptional, extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved and do not apply generally to other properties. As stated before, this is a very narrow parcel of land with a lot of frontage along Pine Street, which is a main street in that area with properties to the west being single-family lots that have been built upon. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property rights possessed by other properties in the same zone or vicinity. And it just allows him to make use of the property as it exists. The granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to properties or improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located, based on the findings that there are already single-family homes to the west side of Pine Street that extend out into Elkhorn Lake, And there are properties to the east of him along Walnut that have existed on similar narrow lots. Further, that based on the following findings, fact, granting this variance would not impair adequate supply of light or air to just due to the fact that the property is long and that the building of a house does not impair the supply of light or air to adjacent properties. Unreasonably increase the congestion in the public due to the fact it's one single residential dwelling on an area filled with residential dwellings. And even if he has a whole host of kids, it's probably not gonna increase the traffic that much beyond what's there right now. Increase the danger of fire or damage to public safety. Again, a single house on a long, narrow piece of property. Unreasonably diminish or impair establishment of property values within the surrounding area. He's just asking to build what's already there and possibly might just increase the property values of his neighbors. And my motion again is to approve the variance as requested.
We have a motion by Mrs. Van Tassel, supported by Mr. Walker. Any further discussion by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Diane Danaskas, yes. Joanne Van Tassel,
Yes?
Don Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, motion passes, you're good to go.
Thank you guys for your time, I appreciate it.
Good luck to you, sir.
Happy 4th of July, thank you.
Next up, we have public comment, but we're losing what public we had, so I don't think we have any of that. Do we have any communications from board members? Anything?
I'd like to report that we have hired a new fire chief to replace the fire chief who had left.
Okay, good.
And went through a very extensive process ever since March of getting the candidates interviewed and going through the process. He should be taking around the 1st of August or so.
Good.
Taking over. Well, I thank Assistant Fire Chief John Pinder for doing a great job in the interim.
So who is the new fire chief?
The gentleman's name is Allen, I'm trying to remember his first name. Ryan Allen, right.
From
He-
where?
Well, he originally graduated from Rochester High School.
We won't hold that against him.
Nope. And he served on the Addison Township Fire Department, I think, for a while.
Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, he's a fire chief right now in Tuttle, Oklahoma.
Oh. Wants to come back home?
Yep.
Went national with the search, did they?
Yes, oh, yes, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, a great HR team out of Chicago. Very extensive. One of the best searches I've seen in a long time. Yep.
Any committee reports, anything? No new library business or anything like that? Okay, member comments, anybody have anything about tonight's meeting or in general?
Wish all the rest of them would go this easy.
I was just gonna say,
Four
the
cases and
only thing I will say is it was very smooth work by all concerned tonight, and I appreciate it. I anticipated it would be a lot more difficult than it turned out to be.
I have one question.
Mr. Walker?
Are we supposed to know that guy? He
Yeah, I
said-
know, he said he know.
Who's that guy? I never saw that guy.
I thought he was a friend of yours, Don.
Well, I will tell you, from having dealt with the folks in that area a number of times, I never saw them on the lake board in the past. So maybe I've just been too far removed from all the joys and fun of meeting with
Perhaps he
lake
has
board
a
people.
inflated opinion of himself. Could be that too.
Yeah,
I mean, if Frank Kuntz had shown up, yeah, I know Frank,
I know that name.
you know, or if Mr. Butke had shown up, yeah, I know him, dealt with him just recently, but no, this guy was new to me.
He knows a lot of stuff.
Well, if we have nothing additional, we can stand for a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We're done. Thank you.
Want me to put up a mic?
Sure.